Okay, whatever it may be. The brain is depicted on the outside of their own personal heart-based reality. The only way the outer ring or the screen can get in is through the one door that exists for the outer screen and not Nilk into one's heart-based reality or personal reality bubble. This is the part of the brain, it's like a doorway, in my opinion. The ego mind, related to the root chakra, the red one down at the genitals, the part of the mind that thinks in English. That is like a double agent to a degree, or a double agent, and it's the palace guard, and it bows down. Part of you, we're all born this way. Part of us all wants to bow down to what the not Nilk wants, and the greasy hand reaches down, the tentacles reach down from the outer ring, and the hand reaches up here from in the diagram, the brain, and shakes hands with the outer ring or the screen. It lets it in to your heart-centered reality. It has to be let in. Can't forcibly punch its way in. Maybe it's trying to punch its way in with the magenta, trying to change reality itself, but at least what exists now and always existed, it needs to get in. Paul McCartney just.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rudy here. I want to make a quick, I guess, an audio response, video response to Matt McKinley's. It's not his last presentation because he just uploaded another one. But there's a part of his one of his presentations, second to the last one. I put a link in the description. I put a screenshot of which one I'm talking about, and he made an insinuation at one point that, you know how he shows his reality map. I'll leave a link in the description for that too. Very interesting when he talks about the outer screen reaching in. And I hadn't talked about this, but it's been on my mind for like probably about a year or so. And he alluded to this idea that it's our brain is almost like the palace guard or the middleman reaching out to the outer screen. And I've insinuated in my Black Mirror presentation where I kind of said that it's our senses, the five senses. There's more than five senses, but just for argument's sake, the five senses is what reaches out to the reality screen. And I hadn't elaborated on that too much, but I think my overall point is, I think I'm on solid ground with my overall point in that. I think everybody understands that the ego is the one that shakes hands with the screen, the Black Mirror reality. And it's hard to get into detail. Well, it's hard to get into, well, not hard to get into. I think it's pretty simple in a way, but it's difficult at the same time. Where I'm just going to flat out say, my premise is that Satan is the ego. It's the scapegoat. I've talked about this in my community posts where I said it's the ego that is the ultimate scapegoat. It's almost the thing that sits outside of yourself that bears your cross for you. And Uncanny Deduction has alluded in the past that Jesus may be Satan, which is interesting. And I haven't given it too much thought, but it's been in the back of my head. And y'all already know I listen to Jesse Peterson, that pastor, black preacher man that I listen to a lot. And his main focus of the way he talks to people is that it's the thoughts, it's the ego. The thoughts that you have aren't your own. I've been over it on my channel. It's the trauma, your trauma-bound past, your trauma-bound existence is what controls your thoughts. You and I both don't have free will. We're just almost like amalgamations of our past traumas and experiences. And it's like that in the literal sense, in the metaphysical sense. Your voice is not your own. The English language, it was given to you. It was forced on you. If you speak English or whatever language you speak, it was forced on you by the adults in your life. And take it further back, take it a step back, take it thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of steps back. and we can pinpoint it to the ultimate deceiver. Language is meant to bottleneck our already double-mindedness, our double-think-mindedness, and it's already like language just further complicates that, if that makes sense. I know I'm sort of rambling. I'm trying to find the right words. It's hard to find the right words when you just hit record, right? Because I don't have it written down. But the way we think is a bottlenecked feature of the brain, of the ego, of the psyche, given to us on purpose in order to keep us asleep, to keep us confused. Language is meant to confuse, especially English. I think English is, and it's a shame because I don't really speak any other languages. I kind of know Spanish. I can understand it. I can kind of speak it. I don't know it. I couldn't have a conversation with somebody. But English definitely is a bottlenecked language. Latin-based languages tend to have witchcraft and spellcraft embedded into them, double messages embedded into them. And going off that premise alone, that would make our own thoughts our enemies. And they are our enemies. And Jesse Peterson talks about it a lot in his church service, where he's like, you need to be still and live in the present and let your thoughts pass. Let your thoughts bear the cross. Let your ego bear the cross and watch your own ego get nailed on the cross. This is all metaphor, right? It's all, in the mythos, it's all metaphysical. But I have to speak because of the mere fact that our language is spellcraft. It's meant to confuse. Just going off that alone is the reason I have to speak in strange metaphors to the people who are listening, who understand it. This is what Jesus went through. And I know I'm making a bold claim saying like, oh, Jesus, this is what Jesus did. This is what Jesus did. It's like, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's just like, almost like an understanding, like an epiphany that I had, like not even like 2 weeks ago, where I just realized that the things Jesus went through, the parables he had to talk, the metaphors he had to speak in, were because the people were too stupid to understand. They were too asleep. They were a bunch of dummies. His own disciples were a bunch of stooges. Like, his own disciples didn't understand his parables, and he had to correct them multiple times. Like, there's this one little parable about Jesus gives a warning about the Pharisees, and he said, beware the yeast of the Pharisees. And his dumb little disciples think he's talking about bread because they don't have enough bread. It's so stupid. And I'm reading it thinking to myself, like, it makes perfect sense what he's saying. Beware the yeast of the Pharisees. Be wary of the stuff the things they speak, because what comes out of your mouth will come out of your bowels. It's like he had said that before, and it's like it all kind of interlocks together, and he has to speak in these crazy ways in order to get his point across. And his dumbass disciples, the people that should understand him, don't understand him. And that's what Jesus went through. And a lot of y'all may be listening to me, not really understanding what I'm talking about. But I hear someone like Matt McKinley say that he didn't, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what he said. I'm going to put the clip before this so y'all get some context. But he said that it's our own minds that are like the palace guards for the not-noke. For Satan. Our minds are designed to work for the devil. There ain't nothing good about human beings. Like, flat out. That's just a flat out statement that I'm making right now. There is nothing good about human beings. I don't care what civilizations they made. I don't care what technology we come up with. We are not good, period. Because we're locked into this state of being where we're automatically working for Satan. We're working for the not-noke. We're working for the not-noke. Like Matt McKinley said, he said it in his presentation. He hit it on the money. He hit it on the head. I can't believe he said that, because I've never heard anyone else say that before. And I'm almost ashamed that I didn't say it first, because it's been on my mind for like over a year, where I wasn't sure how to really say it. But I think I got the words better now that I've heard Matt kind of talk about it. He's expressed it in his own way, he uses his own metaphors. And that's the problem we run into, is this language we speak can be broken down into other languages. That's the issue with metaphors. It's like we're already speaking a spellcraft language, and then we have to like cross-reference other things, like That's what metaphors are. You basically cross-reference another experience or another situation in order to get someone to understand the current situation. And it's just like a bunch of back and forth bullshit, and it gets confusing and annoying. But that's just the way it is. That's what Jesus had to deal with. He had to deal with the mass dummies who couldn't understand his language with a capital H, God's language. Another example I'd like to give. Well, right at the beginning, I've been reading Matthew a lot, and I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm just putting that out there. This is just what I'm observing. I'm going to talk about, if I ever talk about the Bible, I'm not going to directly quote it. I'm not going to have it in front of my face. I'm going to paraphrase and put it into my own words, because I have to speak in modern language. I have to give modern metaphors, modern parables in a sense. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm Jesus. Y'all know that, hopefully. But right at the beginning of Matthew, Jesus is giving instructions to his disciples, and he's like, we're only going to serve, I'm paraphrasing, right? I wanted y'all to go out there. We're only going to preach to the Jews and not the Gentiles, meaning the non-Jews. So some time goes on, and shortly after that, Jesus is doing his miracles, talking to the crowds. He feeds 3,000 people or something like that. Where he duplicates the fish or whatever the hell he does. It's very strange. I hadn't really dissected that, because I'm not sure what that means yet. I think it has something to do with knowledge and the way we consume, like eat, the way we eat and consume knowledge. I think he multiplied knowledge into meta knowledge. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's besides the point. But a little bit of time goes on, and Jesus is meditating under a tree or whatever. His disciples are around him like a bunch of simps. And there's a lady comes up to him, a Canaanite lady, which would be considered a Gentile, a non-Jew. And she goes up to Jesus and said, "My Lord, please come with me and cure my sister." And Jesus doesn't respond. I'll put the link. I'll put the link and all that in the description. Not in the description. I'll put screenshots up. So Jesus doesn't respond, and he just kind of sits there and keeps on meditating. And she keeps begging, and his disciples like, "Will you please send her away? She's getting on our nerves. She's a Gentile, etc." So Jesus is like, he tells her, the bread meant for the children, it wouldn't be right to give the bread meant to the children to dogs. Meaning it wouldn't be right for him to use his abilities to cure her sister when it's meant for Jews, for his people. And then the lady goes, right off the bat, she snaps back at him, not snaps back, but she comes back at him with, yes, but even the dogs eat the crumbs off the master's table. And he's like, oh, okay. I see, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, okay, I see now. I'll come and heal your sister. And I sat on that for a while, not really understanding what went down, because right at the beginning, like he said, he's not going to interact with Gentiles, which are the non-Jews. And a Canaanite is a non-Jew. And it got me really thinking, like, why did he help the lady? And it's because she understood. She spoke his language with a capital H. Like, she understood the parable immediately and came back at him. And I think Jesus liked that because she's thinking outside the box, right? And I think at that point is when he realizes that even Gentiles are capable of waking up. Even NPCs are capable of waking up. So he's like, okay, I'll come heal your sister. I'm going to say what I have to say now. Even if you are Gentiles, basically. And I'm like, the language he's speaking is almost like people like Matt or say the not know his language, right? With the lowercase h, or someone like me who's speaking in these crazy metaphors. I just think it's very strange and very significant that stories like this kind of reveal themselves. If you get away from the Bible thumping, if you get away from just quoting scripture, because I'm not going to sit here, like I said before, and just quote scripture to people, because it's a waste of fucking time. It's a waste of everyone's time. But it all goes back to this way of describing things, which would be this crazy big idea of our own minds are our enemies, which I think they are. Like, our thoughts are their enemies. That's what meditation's designed to do. It's meant to keep you in the present, to keep your mind still. And it's not really about keeping your mind still, because if you go sit down and meditate, your brain's going to go crazy. I'm telling you right now. You're going to have all kinds of thoughts. You're going to be thinking about what do you want to eat, what do you want to wear, what are you going to do tomorrow, what you're going to do next week. It's going to happen. And you're supposed to just let the thoughts pass when you're meditating and just realize that they're not you. They're coming from something else. All this anxiety, all this emotion that you have is not coming from you. It's coming from the not you, the ego. And you let the ego bear the cross, because that's what it's designed to do. Your ego is meant to take the brunt of all these crazy emotions. And all you have to do, being a person that doesn't have free will, the only thing you can do is let them pass. I know this is a little wild, but you let the thoughts pass, realize they're not you, and just live in the present. And when you come out of your meditative state, you'll be a little more refreshed. Anyway, guys, I think that's all I have to say. If I got more to add, I'll find some time to record and do a little bit more. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.